Please welcome our next speaker, Carol Livingston, a dynamics evangelist. Today, she'll be presenting her session, GP Rocks, Tips and Tricks to Optimize GP. Please stick around after Carol's session for a live Q&A.
Hi, welcome to DynamicsCon session on GP Rocks and how to optimize GP. So thank you DynamicsCon so much for allowing us to share information in our community. This is a great opportunity. I'm sure a lot of people are very excited about getting some more information and learning what they can on how to optimize their system. So thank you DynamicsCon and the Doug community. And I do want to say that we'll be, if you have some questions, please enter them in the chat box. I'll be doing, live Q&A at the end to answer some questions for you. So please feel free just to add a question in the chat box. All right, so let's get started here. So the topic today is GP Rocks, and it's tips and tricks on how to optimize Dynamics GP. So I'm going to walk you through kind of an approach to how to optimize, enhance, and extend Dynamics GP. So I'm not going to go over specific tips and tricks. So if this is the session you thought that might be Sean Doward's or one of the other tips and tricks sessions, but I am going to talk to you about kind of that journey that you're on with Dynamics GP and how you can kick that can down the road and keep using GP as long as you need to in your business. So just a quick introduction, I'm Carol Livingston. I was formerly with Columbus as their GP practice director. I'm currently the owner of Dynamics Connections. We do Isv education for partners. I'm a former CPA in Washington State. I also was a previous controller and CFO, so I've worked in the finance area for 25 years. I hate to say, it's been a long time. I've been a GP consultant since 2006. So I've worked with GP and customers implementing and improving their systems. So a lot of experience. So my agenda today is to walk through, really talk about kind of where we're at right now with Dynamics GP and the roadmap and Microsoft's modern lifecycle. I want to talk to you about that because it is important to think about where we're at in that roadmap and how that affects you in terms of your planning for your future. And then what is your path? Do you need to stay on GP as long as possible? Can you go to the cloud and are there options? So we'll talk about that. And then we're going to talk about how to optimize, really do that analysis of your system and processes, also to enhance your system and how to fix the gaps, and then how to extend GP and how to add on functionality. So I am going to talk about how to add on and extend functionality in GP. So first of all, let's think about what are some of the questions I think I wonder as a GP user is working with GP customers, is GP going away? This is what I hear a lot. No, it's not going away anytime soon. What is the GP roadmap and how far does it extend? So it does go out quite a few years, and then there's 5 years beyond that. So I'll talk about that here in a minute. And has Microsoft stopped developing GP? No, they haven't. So in fact, there is a Connect site that they have for suggestions. So, you can go out and vote for features and enhancements. And they're right now asking the community to tell Microsoft what you want in the new features. So they do that release once a year, and that will extend out through 2024. And yes, there are new releases planned. And then how should you plan for the next couple of years? 2 to 5 years? I think you're pretty safe to stay on GP, and they still might add additional years beyond 2024. It's a TBD, so we don't know. We might have GP features even further out. What if your Microsoft contact or your partner is calling you and saying, hey, you need to move off of GP? What should you do? Well, your partners are Microsoft partners, and they are, incentivized to try to get people to move to the cloud. And that could be just moving to a hosted Azure environment, or it could be moving to one of the cloud ERP solutions. But that doesn't mean that you need to move tomorrow, right? You can look at that and do an evaluation with your partner, but it doesn't mean you have to today, and there are options. So here's Microsoft's Dynamics modern, what they call their modern life cycles. So you can see here from 2019 all the way through 2024, there's releases that are planned every year. And there are 3 releases a year. There's usually a tax update, a year-end update, and then a major release in October. So all the way through 2024, guys, we've got updates and we've got new features. You can even see beyond that, they're saying TBD, and that's not unusual. They always have done that on their roadmaps. And we might hear soon if there is a new features even planned beyond that. If you're on an older version of GP, like 2013, really anything from 2016 or below, you need to think about upgrading. So that is like step one, number one. You probably want to get on the current version so that 1, you're supported by Microsoft, and 2, you get all the features and enhancements that are available. And there are 3 releases a year, so keep in mind you can update on any one of those and get all of the cumulative updates in that release all the way up to that point. So again, here's just another view of that roadmap. So you can see here, there's an October release in 2021, that's this year, next year, and 2023 and 24, there's the year-end release. So beyond that, 24, 25, 26, 25 or 26, those might still have new versions, but keep in mind, there's 5 years of support beyond that. So even if it's 2024, and they don't have any new versions or releases after that, we're still going to have 5 years of support. So is it dead? No, GP is still very much alive. So what is your path? So you have to kind of consider where you might be at on your cloud journey. Most customers and most people that are using GP probably started out with it being on-premise, on the server in the back room. There are a lot of challenges with that, with aging servers, with security hacks, problems with keeping updates current, SQL versions. So maybe it's time to think about moving to the cloud, or maybe you can't at this point. Maybe you have some on-prem like compliance issues, and so you're just going to complete your upgrades on-prem and keep using GP. But going to the cloud, that might be a smart idea. So there is something, if you're not sure about moving to the cloud, maybe your IT team isn't really skilled enough to do it. There is steps that you can do. You can be hosted on Azure, which is a cloud platform hosted by Microsoft, and your partner, you should talk to your partner if they are an Azure hosting partner, and they can help move you to the cloud. So basically think of it this way. It's GP hosted on someone's server, and it's in a server data center. So in that data center, you still have access to your data. It's in a more secure environment. You don't have to keep up doing the upgrades, the updates on the server itself. That's what that hosting platform provides you. So it might be a nice option to move to that instead. There are other options also. There are some GP hosted options. Power GP Online is another partner out there that has the ability to take your GP and put it in their environment. And they've actually improved and enhanced GP, which is even better. And you can still access it with a web client or through remote access. So that might be the kind of the hybrid or the mid step to going to the cloud. And then maybe you are all the way over here. Hey, my board, my executives say I need to go to the cloud. And we need to be a cloud first only company. So now everything needs to be on the cloud. So those are some considerations when you're thinking about where we at in this time frame on our journey to the cloud. So if you're going to kick that can a little bit further down the road, one, is think about how can you optimize GP. Well, obviously if you're on an older version, please upgrade, get with your partner, get on a current version. But I think that there are really kind of three key areas: optimize, maximize, and extend. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So optimize. That means look at your system, get an independent assessment or review of your systems and your processes. Go to your partner, ask them if they can do an assessment. A lot of times they'll do a paid engagement for this, and they'll work with you, create that analysis of where you have some gaps, where are some pain points, what things do you need to change. Maybe even looking at your team and giving some feedback on their skill level and their training needs. Maybe they don't even know how to use the system because tribal knowledge was passed down from person to person, and we know when that person left and that knowledge walked out the door. So it might be a good time to look at your team as well. So do that optimization review and have that assessment done by someone who's skilled and has best practices and knows your environment. The second thing is then look at ways to maximize your system, determine your gaps, look at what you own and what you're not using. So I see this a lot when I was with a partner with clients. I was like, hey, did you know that you own this module or that module? They didn't even know, they didn't know they own fixed assets. So get a list of the capabilities and look at those and extend. Maybe you just need to add in a third party, or maybe add in some reporting and some companion software, and that will make the difference. That'll make all the difference in you being able to function even better and modernize your system. So think about optimizing, maximizing, and extending GP. So optimize, independent assessment. So consider what your business needs are. So, bring in what are your corporate goals, your near-term objectives, what are your future plans? If you're going to grow, you're going to expand. Maybe because of the coronavirus, you need to be more virtual and have paperless workflow. So consider what are those things, those changes in the business environment and your needs as an organization. And then how does the technology support it? And what more do you need to do to execute on your business goals? I think everything that you're doing with your systems needs to support your business goals, right? So that really kind of starts. And maybe you have the executive team or the board or your management team coming down with a mandate. Hey, we need to be on the cloud. We need to move to the cloud. Well, you can still do that, right? You have options there to get into a GP hosted environment. You don't need to switch to a cloud-based ERP, although that's an option. But just on GP, you can move to the cloud and still have your data protected and secure. So, and I always look at, if you're on GP, it's a great software, it has a lot of functionality. If it's not broken, why fix it? So you think about, well, if I look at moving to another software or another ERP solution, then I'm going to have the cost of implementation. It's a disruption to my business. And everybody has a learning curve, right? Are you ready to move to the cloud? We already talked about where are you at on that journey, but maybe you need to think about, okay, our servers are old. We need to switch them out, or we need to get on a hosted environment. Maybe you've had a cybersecurity attack. Oh my gosh. It seems like when I was at Columbus, which is a partner, we were probably once a month hearing from clients who had cyber attacks. So maybe they weren't keeping up with their security patches. So those are considerations and real business risk for you. And then you can go to the cloud in phases, right? There's, again, like I said, there's hosting by your partner. You can go to Power GP online, or there's another option with GP 365. These are GP in the cloud options. So create that roadmap for your system. So what are your gaps? What are your future needs? And then what timing do you have to migrate to one of those platforms? And once you figured out what your gaps are, what processes are being done, for example, things that are being done outside of GP, right? I always look at, well, how many things are being done on spreadsheets or manually, the sneaker net, right? People are still moving paper around, or now virtually. Anything that is being done on Excel, that's another area to look at, right? If you're doing things to track it on Excel, maybe you need to look at how to better do that inside of GP. Take a hard look at what you own but you don't use. So there is a capabilities guide, and I put the link here. But if you just search it on a browser search engine, you can find Dynamics Microsoft has a site where you can download that capabilities guide. There are lots of modules that people own and they don't even know that they own. But depending on your licensing, you might have advanced modules and add already. But if you don't, even just within the standard package of license, the capabilities are phenomenal. So don't forget to look at those and see what you're not using, things that you might not realize you already own. And go through that list and say, yep, we own this, yep, we own this, and we're using it. Kind of make yourself a checklist. And then what else can you automate? GP has, of course, works with Office 365. You can do emailing. They've added a whole lot of workflow capabilities. I know there's another session at DynamicsCon on workflow. I would encourage you to listen to that one. Or there's the Power Platform. That Microsoft has not forgotten GP. They've included us in the modern Power, Power Platforms, Power Apps, Power BI. All of the Power Platform is available to Microsoft Dynamics GP. And then training. What does the team need to learn? Maybe you find that, again, people left, and then the people that were there behind are learning, but what they learned is probably less than what they need to know. So it's always a good time to kind of step back and say, hey, let's retrain our team. There's partner-led training. You can go to your partner and have them do training. You can look up YouTube or online videos. There's a lot of Dynamics community training, user groups offer training. DynamicsCon is a great place, of course, that we have training. Training Dynamo, I know she has a session on DynamicsCon. So all of these are tools that you can use that don't really cost a lot, but I would definitely do some investment in your team. And if they know how to use the system better, they'll be more efficient. All right, so that's enhance. And then the next thing is extend. So what can you do to extend GP? So outside of GP, reporting? Yes, well, maybe it's time to look at changing up your reporting tools. There's a lot of reporting tools inside of Dynamics GP that people don't take advantage of. They use Management Reporter and maybe they're not happy. Financial reporting could be kind of limited if they're using Management Reporter. I think it's a very good reporting tool for financial statements, but if you need operational reporting or other tools, so find another solution. And maybe you have budgeting and forecasting needs as well. So there's a lot of options. There's a lot of third-party options like TrueSky, Prospero by MSX Group, Vivid Reports. So look into and check out those, ask your partner for help on that. Oh, but wait, you also have Power BI. And Power BI, there is a content pack that Microsoft created that you can install and use, and it's free. So, just Google it. You just go on your browser and just look it up. You can find that Power Pack and download it. I've got the link here too, but it's free and you already own it. And then Isvs and add-ons. So those are the companion products that enhance GP. And there's a lot of the companion softwares out there, and there's a lot of very common ones. The ones that are most likely to add that I've seen are things like in warehouse and distribution, manufacturing, document imaging, and workflow around PO and requisitions, AP automation or check printing, reporting and budgeting. So those are really common things that a lot of users on GP use to enhance their systems. And I have others listed here, like Maker check printing, AP automation. There's a lot of really good vendors that do, some sort of AP automation. There's a lot of tools like SmartFill. GP Power Tools has a lot of great tools. all the spectrum. They also have a lot of tools. So, and there's a lot of awareness and barcoding and EDI and freight vendors. That FastCore is one that I would recommend too looking at. They have sort of that end-to-end opportunity for WMS and a TMS system all in one. Tax reporting, instead of updating tax tables manually or exchange rate tables, look at a third party for that to update those automatically. Maybe payroll, there is ability to use GP payroll in HR, but there's also, some of our, Isvs have also created their own payroll solution like Green Shades. Workflow and document management, there is a built-in workflow engine within Dynamics. And again, I would really encourage you to look at that because maybe you can use those and take them and do automation, especially when everybody's working virtually. And but there's also some great tools out there in ISVs like MetaViewer and QuickTags and Alltech. So on credit card processing, well, getting paid through credit cards is a pretty common thing. So that's something that you can add to, create that automation. Collections and AR building, there are some great portals out there that have some automated external facing portals for clients to actually reach in and look at their data, make payments, that send automatic collection notices, all of that. So you're not having to manage all of those kind of details. Bank reconciliations and employee expense reporting and shopping carts. There are all kinds of things that you can add in to help modernize and extend GP. So what I recommend is, create a roadmap for your GP system. So, basically get a punch list, right? Get a list of things that you can, gaps of things you need to do. And I would prioritize those, determine the budget. What kind of budget are you going to spend this year, next year, and the year after? And don't forget that upgrade too, because that's really important to be on a current version of Dynamics so that you're getting all of the current updates and features. Do the low-hanging fruit. I love when we get, an assessment done and we kind of have our shiny new list. Well, sometimes it's just great to just take those things that are easy to do and knock them off the list, right? So do those easy things, get them done. Ask your partner for help. I mean, your partner knows your environment. They know how your system is set up. They know best practices. So, utilize them. And then phone a friend, talk to, people in the community, use the forums. I've listed a couple forums here. There's a Dynamics Microsoft community. There's the Dynamics community and Dynamics user group, which hosts this Dynamics Con. So there's a lot of ways that you can, find out what are other people doing in the community and how do they leverage, their system. So, all right. Well, thank you for joining us today on this presentation. And I appreciate DynamicsCon for hosting this event today and building our community. And so I hope you enjoyed that. And I will be on the live chat after this presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to just enter them in the chat box. And again, thank you for joining, and thank you DynamicsCon for putting this on for our community. I appreciate it. So I know, Vicki, you also work with a lot of clients and do assessments. What do you think about kind of what we talked about? I think Amber chimed in on, hey, training, it's really important. What have you seen? Have you seen a lot of clients that just need training in what area own?
I absolutely love when you work with a customer that's maybe been on GP for a good number of years and you show them something new and they're like, I never knew GP could do that.
Right.
And so I completely concur. Training, spend some time just in the software. I always promote having a sandbox so that you can jump over. You don't have to worry about, production data or am I going to mess something up? And play away with it. Ask your partner, hey, I'm thinking it should be doing this. Does it do this? I mean, the more you can learn about the tools that you have and the more you can utilize them, the better your days are going to be.
Yeah, I think that's important. Having a test environment. I mean, some people add just a test company, but having a test environment kind of allows you to kind of completely separate from the production system. You can install software. You can, do some real rigorous testing. So if you have that ability to have kind of a separate environment or separate instance, that's always a plus, right? Definitely. Are we getting any other questions?
It looks like we do have a question from Mark. With 5 years of GP support, is there still also 5 years additional extended support too?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So Microsoft has that 5-year mainstream support. So, basically, if let's say 2024 is the last date on the roadmap that they actually have enhancements, you still have 5 years of support from Microsoft. And what I'm hearing from the ISV community with my Dynamics Connections company is a lot of companies are, thinking about the cloud, maybe wondering about it, but they've got a really robust system right now. So they're not ready to move. So definitely they're looking at that roadmap and thinking about it. And who knows, they might announce even extending that a few years and getting, again, a couple more years of additional features, maybe through 2025 or 2026. That's a TBD. But hopefully Microsoft, and they are looking at all of the suggestions and feature enhancements that people are providing. And when they consider a release, that's what they're looking at, right? What new features can we add?
We have another question come in. It's from Jackie. When thinking about upgrading, how frequently should we plan to upgrade? Need to run this by the board for approval, so I'm thinking of budget-wise.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, what was the first part of that question?
Sure, no worries. When thinking about upgrading, how frequently should we plan to upgrade?
Well, once you get on GP 2018 or 18 dot whatever, the kind of the latest version of Dynamics, they do have 3 releases a year, and Microsoft would like to see you update one of those to stay on kind of that modern life cycle to continue to get support. So I would say if you can jump all the way up to whatever 18 dot whatever is available currently, and then just once a year plan to have a minor upgrade. But I'd say that big one, try to get as far as you can, all the way up to 2018 or 18 dot something. So I would look at it with your partner. Depending on how many versions you're behind is going to determine the cost, right? Vicki, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think we've found this when working with our GP clients that are interested in at least starting to talk about the cloud, and really doing some planning for the next 2 to 4 years with them. It really depends on the version that you're on. I think the functionality that you're using, and then really what is that journey to the cloud look like internally for your organization really would determine your upgrade path. There's a consideration if you are going to go to the cloud on the version and data migration, but I think Carol's directive to talk to your partner and really just kind of have a planning session from, I call it soup to nuts, right? So on GP and all related applications.
Yeah. It's always good to bring in your partner on these discussions and decisions for sure. And I do think you kind of need to look out and think about what, when and where are we going to look at the cloud, but you have options, right? That's the main thing here. Don't just feel like you need to make a change in software because your partner or Microsoft or you're hearing in the community something different. I mean, you do have options.
You do. And, to your point, we've talked about this a little bit earlier. If you are feeling like you're not getting the most out of your GP, the best thing too is to talk to your partner, right? If you feel like, there's more that you can use in GP, definitely talk about doing a process review. And those can take on any flavor. It doesn't have to be an extensive project. Maybe it's a more focused approach, right? And maybe some areas, maybe inventory control or sales order processing to get it through, quicker in the system. But definitely collaborate, with the expertise in the market or in the channel that can have those discussions with you.
I think that's really important. That's what I tried to say, I guess, in this session is get an independent assessment, right? Your partner does know your environment. They know best practices. So they're kind of the obvious choice. But, had some clients are trying to save money and they try to do the assessment themselves. So they just don't know. You as a end user may not realize or know everything that's available. You kind of know what your pain points are, and that's a good start.
Right. And they don't have time. I mean, they have to do their everyday job. So a lot of times they don't have the resources to focus truly focus on it.
Yeah. So find your partner, find a partner that can help you with this. Any other questions coming through?
It looks like we have one more here from Jim. With Microsoft's recent security problems, we're seeing a loss of trust in Microsoft. Any thoughts on GP and AWS or Google?
I don't know much about Google's product. We've had some clients in the past move to AWS. I think Azure is very secure. We've had very good success with customers that moved to Azure. I'm hearing other partners are also moving clients to Azure. That is really a very common and recommended thing. So yeah, what Microsoft just did and the Windows team, every time they do an update, I kind of cringe because that does tend to break things and they don't necessarily think about kind of the ecosystem, right? The applications that they need to support that Microsoft has. So even internally at Microsoft, you can kind of see there's conflict, but there's definitely some discussions about, what to do when that happens. And we've seen that, but I don't think it's just Dynamics GP that's been impacted, when they have something that probably does affect more than just the ERP applications too, right? So yeah, good point.
All good questions. Let me go check.
Any other questions? We talked about training, but what about ISVs? I mean, gosh, there's hundreds of Dynamics GP ISVs out there. So definitely recommend you look at those. I mean, it's recommended, and I think there's kind of the usual ones, there's E1 has some great tools. David Musgrave, he has that great GP Power tool. There's a lot of really good add-ons. If you have credit card processing, I think we kind of talked about that. You want to make sure they're PCI compliant. I think someone mentioned that in the chat. But definitely, look at what's sort of the typical ones that people are adding in, and there's probably a reason, right? They find some value in adding those things and making their system more efficient. I think SmartFill is one of my favorites. E1's Smart List Builder for integration, Smart Connect from E1. Those are great tools to add into your solution for sure. And reporting tools. Let's not forget all the reporting. Oh my gosh, how many people don't know they can use Excel refreshable reports? You've got that. SQL reporting services, you've got that. Power BI reporting, you can add that. And so there's a lot of reporting options. Anything else, Vicki, you seeing?
Nope, they seem to slow down a little bit, Carol.
Okay.
Nope, nothing coming in. Hang on, wait 1 second. We recently implemented green shades time and attendance, so we no longer use paper timesheets. I think this might be just related to a chat that's going on with some of the members.
Well, they're having their own chat over here.
Right?
I'm not listening to the chat.
Yeah, it's all good stuff, though. All good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good point, Jackie. Green Shades has the time and attendance, and you can make that paperless. That's good. Mark, you said GP, your company is doing the Azure backup. So that's good. That's a good start.
We got a well done job, Carol, from Bob McAdams. David Musgrave says every customer needs GP power tools, but he's not biased.
No, David is a great, and you know what? I want to say something about David. His tools, he adds things all the time. It's not static. So thank you, David, for that.
We do have a question. What's going to happen to Management Reporter? Is that going away?
You know, a lot of companies are looking for a Management Reporter replacement because Microsoft has chosen not to enhance that anymore. So if you want something beyond what Management Reporter can do, then there are some other good tools. Vivid Reports, they're a company out of Canada. They are awesome. There's, Solver, there's Prospero, there's many, many options for, kind of depends on your budget, right? And what you're looking for, but there's definitely options.
I'm not seeing anything else, Carol.
Smart List Designer reports. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Amber, on that. You have a training on it. There's so many cool features.
We do have one that just came in. Might as well ask here. Does Windows Virtual Desktop handle GP well in the Azure environment?
That's kind of beyond me. Anybody in the chat?
Yeah, I didn't see anything come in. There's another one here. What about support for Management Reporter if you're already using it?
No, I think that it's still being supported. I don't know when mainstream support ends on that, but I think it's still supported. We use Microsoft all the time to do troubleshooting, so I think. Vicki, do you know?
I think it'll be. We have a strong partner channel, so there'll always be some support for it.
Yeah. Yep.
Got another one here. With SmartFill, is there a way to remove items from just one list? If we move a contract to history, we no longer want the contract to appear.
Okay, you guys are getting deep.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. We would probably, you'd probably want to ask that backwards to Rockton.
Yeah, I would ask Rockton support. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. It's a little bit deep.
I always felt like everyone should get SmartFill. Like that should be automatic, right?
Yeah, it's true. Here's another one that came in, Carol. We have many customers still in GP 2013 with a lot of customizations added. I think we will upgrade to 18, so we don't need to worry about redo all the customizations in BC. That is true. That is a benefit of staying and just upgrading in GP, because they'd have to be redone in BC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's kind of just address the whole thing. It's not an upgrade to go to Business Central. It is an implementation. It's a different system. I mean, if you went to NetSuite or you went to something else, you just assume it is a new system, and it's not better or worse than GP. It's different. It's not like they took GP functionality and upgraded it. It is a new application. So, any other questions? Kind of looks like the chat is doing.
Hang on, we do have one, Carol. Is there an ISV that provides functionality to mass approve GL batches?
Is there functionality in GP?
An ISV, is there an ISV that provides additional functionality to mass approve GL batches?
So there's some posting tools. I know Albo Spectrum has a posting server. There's Postmaster. There are a few posting tools, but if you have approvals turned on, I don't know that you can use those tools. I'm not sure how that would work. If you have like an approval, you probably need something custom. I know in the past we used Dexterity and built a custom kind of approval on that so that people didn't have to go in and do that. It kind of happened at night as a service. Anything else?
Nope. They're just
Amber's trying to help Jim with that question on approval.
Yeah, they're trying to see if we're using the workflows.
Yeah.
So I'm not really seeing anything else new come in, Carol. Oh, how many clients using Jet Reports? Sorry, that got stuck up in there.
How many
How many
clients?
clients are using Jet Reports?
I think, and this is just my opinion, what I'm hearing from partners that I'm meeting with is that a lot of partners are recommending Jet Reports. Some are trying to get away from Jet Reports, and some are saying, no, that's our standard. So when you move to Business Central, Vicki, you're muted.
Yep.
So on Business Central, you have the out-of-box account, I forget what they call it, account plans,
Account
right?
schedules. Account schedules.
Thank you. You get a basic financial statement, and then a lot of people are adding Jet Reports to Business Central. But again, don't forget there are other options, for financial reporting and budgeting.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's probably about 30% of the partners are telling me that that's what their customers are using is Jet Reports when they're moving to Business Central in particular. If they're on GP, they're using a lot of different tools, Active Reporter, Prospero. They're using, Management Reporter. Of course, Power BI is up there high on the list because a lot of people are using that for operational reporting, not so much for financial.
Yeah. Just kind of commenting between Jet and MR.
Yep. So Amber put in the chat the site to go vote for new features. Please do that because that's what Microsoft is looking at right now to put in the October release and future releases. So definitely, if you see a feature out there, vote for it. Share it with your friends. Have them vote for it.
Yeah, they do really listen to that. We've always included that in our Let's Learn Lives when we did them, Carol, because Microsoft really does pay attention to those feature requests.
All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you for joining the session. And thank you, Vicki, for being a good sidekick. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
See you later. Bye.